Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Tina. Today I am going to show you the shirt that I made from the pattern that I called Nancy. In an earlier video I will leave the link down below so you can see that for yourself if you want to. Now this shirt is called Nancy because it is very much inspired by Nancy Wheeler of Stranger Things. And she wears absolutely amazing clothes, I think, in the whole TV series. She's an amazing girl, just seriously. And the shirt is also very much inspired by 1980s fashion in general. And it's a decade that I really like. And that is because they really played around with things for real in the 1980s. They played with the volumes, they played with the shapes and the colors of clothes. Now, of course, it also included lots of fashion that isn't that cool. But you can skip that. You can just take the parts that you like. You don't have to take all of it. And look, for example, at these pictures that I'm including here. Look at the models. Look at how they are posing, the way they are looking at the camera. They are not timid in any way. They are not vapid. They are bold. They stare you right in the eye and they pose with their arms out and their legs out and they take up place. And I really like that. And you can also look at these modern photos that I have included. Look at the models here, how they are posing. It's very common these days that models have arms and legs tucked very close to the body. They look like they are cold maybe, they look like they are insecure. They don't look you right in the eyes usually, but to the side or down, trying to look sexy. And also the way they are standing, they don't have their feet far apart, they have their feet close together. And they very often cross the feet in front of them. And that gives you an unstable position. It doesn't mean mentally unstable, but you don't have stability in the way you are sort of taking on the world. This actual shirt is made out of the remnant that I had lying around, and it is so cool. Look at this. It is so... Excuse me? Oh, the cat. No, don't do that. Well, she went crazy. You can see her up here. I made it out of a remnant that I had lying around, and it is so close to one of the shirts or blouses that Nancy is actually wearing in the show. Mine is red, hers is pink, I think, but it's so cool. But there wasn't enough of it. I had to add a bit of solid black. It is made out of a very slinky rayon. And I made this as a sort of wearable mock-up, sample, try out of the pattern, and I am planning to make this as a shirt out of this very nice yellow Cupro fabric. I'm gonna make a shirt and a skirt, so all together that becomes a dress when I wear it together. And to see how the shirt would look as part of a dress, I wore it with a belt when I tried it on, and I immediately got a completely different type of inspiration, and that from another, iconic inspiration, and that is Star Wars. I felt like sort of like Obi-Wan Kenobi. And that is the reason behind the reveal that I filmed. I sort of made it look like I was exploring an alien planet somewhere. So I am sort of walking around in the woods and looking for something, exploring. Talking about cool girls, maybe I'm out looking for Princess Leia, and I'm like, where did you go? I can't find her. Where is she? But you will see that in the reveal at the end. Oh, and I also included me wearing a cape. And that's why I am frolicking around in the woods in a cape. Because you want to look cool, right? So now let's have a look at the process. First I'm cutting out the pattern pieces from the fabric, and then I'm sewing the shirt, and then you will find the reveal with the famous cape. Let's have a look. Here I have started cutting out, and as you can see right under the cat's tail, I have had to make some changes because there just wasn't enough fabric. What I had to do was to shorten the shirt. which is a bit ironic because I had to fold away exactly the length that I added earlier, but that's the way it goes when you have too little fabric. And back to original state. And the next problem is that there's not enough fabric for the sleeves either. So I have to shorten them too, and I do that by making a fold right across, pinning it in place, and yeah, voila! Now there's enough. If you watched my last video, you saw me change the pattern for the sleeves, and make these small triangles, and that was to make it easier to fit it onto the fabric. But here you can see me fiddling with these two small triangles. Cutting from a fabric with diagonal stripes, that is a pain. And I am trying to make these stripes match up to be uninterrupted, because I don't want any kind of fun pattern matching in the armpit area. And well, enough fiddling. This will have to do. And here I am finally satisfied and cutting the sleeve and the triangles out. Now what is left to do is to cut out the yoke, and I am cutting that from a black fabric because there wasn't enough of the red one. I'm also cutting out the front plackets, well, actually tearing them. And now it's time to start sewing. The first and most important step here was that I used spray starch on the front piece, because I am beginning with the front opening, a placket, and I don't want to work with this super slinky fabric moving in every direction all the time, so I use quite a heavy layer of spray starch. And after that I am preparing the small piece of fusible interfacing that is going on the inside of the shirt at the bottom of the front opening, because this fabric is also very good at fraying. After I used the spray starch, I also pressed the center front in a very, very crisp fold, and this helped me a lot when I made the front placket. And I ironed the fusible interfacing to the backside of the fabric, but that footage disappeared somewhere in space, so you have to trust me. So perhaps I should explain a little bit about this front placket, or the front closure, or lack of closure, because this is like two edges of fabric that meet in the middle. They don't overlap, and the bottom half is covered on the inside with a piece of fabric. You could call it maybe a modesty panel if you want, and it is what holds it together at the bottom half, and the upper half is just lying open and loose. But apart from that, this placket is sewn just exactly as any other placket. I first sew these long seams along the front, and after that I cut it open. And then I fold the edges in and under and pin them in place, covering these raw edges. I sew across the triangle that you find at the bottom of the placket. And after that I cut out this modesty panel that I had actually forgot to make beforehand. It's a double fabric. And then I pin that one in place from the back side of the shirt and sew everything in place while I am top stitching around the placket. The next step is to attach the front pieces to the yoke. The front pieces are gathered, and I am struggling a little bit with removing these gathering stitches. And here is the back piece, also gathered but just in the middle. And here comes the very important step of transferring all these markings to make sure that I put the triangles back in the right place on the sleeves. And on the actual sleeves, I am marking these pleats. Originally, I planned to make these into pin tucks that would reach maybe 10 centimeters down into the sleeve. I changed my mind, so this is very much wasted effort. Now I am attaching these famous small triangles to the sleeves. I am trying to pattern match as good as possible. Not easy. Before attaching the sleeve, I am evening out the arm side just a little bit and pinning the sleeve in place, following all the markings, notches or balance marks, whatever you call it, They all worked out perfectly and the sleeve fit exactly. And the next step is to sew the side seam all in one go, of course, side seam and sleeve in one. And I am marking the side seam with the ruler because the fabric had become a little uneven. And I stop the side seam maybe 2.5 centimeter above the bottom edge. And the last step is, of course, to add the cuffs. They have no openings, no buttons, no buttonholes. They are quite wide, so they fit very loosely around my arm. And finally, I am hemming the shirt, folding the fabric double and sewing it in place. Now let's go out in the woods and frolic with the cape. Oh, and by the way, if you like this video, I would like to ask you to hit the like button and why not subscribe too while you're at it. Thank you.